Joining us right now, Gordon Chang, who is the author of Nuclear Showdown, North Korea Takes on the World. It's a great book. I've recommend it highly because I've read it. It's very good. He's a frequent guest here, and we enjoy having you on. So I know that you have some very definite thoughts about the culture of Japan and the way that perhaps this was handled from that point of view initially. Give me your thoughts on this.
The Japanese people certainly reacted differently than Americans would. I mean, you were talking about whining. The Japanese don't whine. And, you know, when you're talking about an evacuation out of an area, you know, maybe that is actually better because they follow orders. Japan has had a number of nuclear emergencies, and especially this company, Tokyo Electric, has had problems at its reactors, and they tried to keep things very, very quiet, even from the government, and because of that, things were probably worse. So this is a country that's had problems with its reactors and has not reacted in a prompt manner. And that's why I see this pattern is continuing, and that's not a good thing.
You know, interesting, when you spoke earlier about the people and how they've responded to this emergency, over and over again in the news coverage over the last 48 hours, people have been marveling at the fact that there has been little or no complaint from the Japanese, standing in long lines.
This is a highly ordered society with an old tradition. What I find missing, by the way, in the coverage, and I know it's difficult because the story is growing every moment, but apart from the nuclear crisis, there isn't a sense of how many people forget getting a definite casualty figure. That's going to be a while. But there isn't a sense of how they're feeding people, what the rescue effort is. I mean, I don't think there's a big picture yet.
I don't think
the networks parachute in and they stand in front of a, you know, rubble, and it's piecemeal.
But do you know that this does? Did you see the movie Wag the Dog with Robert?
Yes, I did.
It just because, I mean, it is because they parachute in. It's the one location that they're at, and whatever's going on behind them is the whole country.
That's right. That's right.
Exactly.
And a pagoda on their shoulder.
Well, the thing about Sendai City, for example, it was thought that the entire city was washed away when it was primarily part of that city is still intact. When the tsunami came, the harbor area was completely eliminated, and you know, thousands of people perished. But initially, the reports were Sendai is gone. You know, and I think that was something that people didn't quite understand until a few days after the fact. When reporters were showing the devastation from that particular spot.
In the United States is what they see, you know, on TV, or they read in whatever their news source happens to be. But it's amazing to me because I think the more you watch, the less you know. You get one visual and you draw an entire conclusion from that visual, or you read one story and one, you know.
Or having said all that, though, you really have to, you know, you forget you're watching. When you're watching pictures, you forget about the camera people. And the NHK pictures have been unbelievable, and I'm sure we're taken at great risk. And when they cover a story, they cover it with battalions of people. And they did such a wonderful job. And are doing such a wonderful job.
Those 50 people, what, I mean,
I know.
They're heroes.
They're heroes.
Story.
I was thinking about this morning when I heard that. I was just amazed. That, you know, that I said these are going to be the heroes that are part of the story. Unbelievable sacrifice there. Gordon, thank you. Always a pleasure to have you here. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you very much.
This is something that we're going to be obviously monitoring over the next several weeks, because this is going to remain fluid, because we just don't know to what extent, at what point they're going to be able to cap this thing, you know, contain it to the point where it's not going to be a threat. And I know that a lot of people are very scared by this. Some final thoughts, Eric?
Yeah, you know, it was interesting last night, because from last night, I watched Glenn Beck last night. I never agree with a thing that he says. Last night, I was fascinated by how he explained the way everything was being covered, and it's amazing to me that in less than 12 hours, how much that has changed from last night. So I agreed with him last night. Now I'm back to not agreeing with anything that he says.
But you watch him.
You know what? I don't, but he really caught me last night.
That old trick.
That old trick.
Right. I think a lot more liberals watch Glenn Beck than will admit to it.
You caught me here too on tape. The worst place.
It's great to have both of you on board here and to weigh in on what's happening right now with Japan and other issues. I hope everything goes well in your day, and we look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you so much.
Thanks
That's going to wrap it up.